Welcome to the gear tier list. I know gears aren't the most exciting thing, but some are better than others, so we're gonna rank them from worst to best. First in the F tier, we have Leon's Lingering Smoke. Honestly, Leon already has plenty of time to get wherever he needs to go using his super, so that extra second doesn't really make a big difference most of the time. In fact, a lot of the time, his super is still gonna get cut short because he actually attacks to assassinate enemies. Next is Sandy's Exhausting Storm. Any decent player is already gonna be staying way far away from Sandy's super, so you don't usually get value out of this gear. Even if you throw Sandy's super directly on top of the enemy, a 10% damage nerf really isn't that strong for just a few seconds. Next, we have the C tier. Kicking off the C tier is Amber's Sticky Oil. This gear is a little bit more useful than Sandy's because enemies can mostly just avoid the puddles on the ground. What's nice about this one is that it will stay on the ground as long as you want. What's interesting is that this was actually completely broken when it was first released. They reduced the slow by 20% down to 10%, and now it really is not that much. Up next, we have the Health Gear. Honestly, the Health Gear almost made it into the B tier because you can get a lot of value with this gear on every single map, every single mode. But really it comes down to whether or not the brawler that you're playing has a lot of HP or a little HP. The really tankiest brawlers can be really solid with this. But most of the time, even on those tanky brawlers, there's a better gear option. Up next are the B tier gears. And starting us off, we have the Pet Gear. The thing is with this gear is that only some brawlers actually get good value out of this. Penny's Cannon, Nita's Bear, and Jesse's Turret actually utilize this gadget or this gear very well. Also, it's pretty good for Tara's Healing Shade. And this gear is excellent when your pets are actually dealing damage, but most of them are actually very easy to avoid taking damage, so the best that I could do with this one is B tier. A 20% increase to Pam's healing from her turret sounds like it's really good, and it can actually add up pretty well. Even though Pam does have to charge her super in order for her to use this gear to get those extra heals, and people actually have to be within it when they're actually damaged for it to work. When that happens, it's great, but when it's not, it's B tier. Next, we have the Vision Gear. The Vision Gear is absolutely essential on some maps, and on other maps, it's completely worthless. There are also some brawlers where it's fantastic on, and other ones where it's just not. Also, close range brawlers literally have no use for this gadget at all, so I feel like I do have to put this right in the B tier because it's so situational. Next is the Shield Gear. The Shield Gear is all about interactions with enemy brawlers that you're up against. If the extra health from this gear allows you to survive and extra ammo, this is huge. It's game breaking, especially on these low HP brawlers like Tick. On the flip side, if an enemy can take you out with the same amount of ammo or without the Shield Gear, then you're basically just better off not having this equipped. Up next is the Supercharged Gear. Most of the brawlers that you can equip this gear with use it pretty well because they can charge their super automatically, or their attack is so hard to land that it allows them to charge their super with one less hit. But there are brawlers like Otis and Bonnie that this makes pretty much no use for at all, so it's kind of useless for them. Next are the A tier gears. These are the good ones. And starting us off is Crow's Enduring Toxins. It's interesting because 30% extra damage from his poison, that sounds like a lot, and over the course of an entire match, it is a fair bit of extra damage. But it doesn't directly increase his actual attack damage or his super damage. It's all indirect because it's just the poison. At the end of the day though, Crow's attack is so easy to land, it's so easy to poison enemies, and so you will get tons of extra damage throughout the match. Next we have Eve's Quadruplets Gear. Eve's super is a good counter to brawlers that are unable to attack through targets, and an extra hatchling can be really overwhelming to those types of brawlers like Piper. And even if a brawler can pierce through targets, sometimes they'll have to waste just an extra ammo because of how spread out the hatchlings can actually be when you have this equipped. Next is Tick's Thick Head Gear. The added health to Tick's super makes such a big difference for getting the super to actually hit on enemies. Honestly, I would say even most of the time Tick's super hits an enemy, it would have gotten destroyed if it weren't for the extra health. And even if it doesn't reach the enemy before it's destroyed, a lot of the times it results in enemies having to waste an additional ammo, which is sometimes massive. Also in the A tier, we have the Reload Gear. Reload speed is a stat that every brawler benefits from in every game that they ever play. It's not a huge increase to this stat, but because it is guaranteed value, I absolutely think it belongs in the A tier. Also in the A tier is the Speed Gear. Movement speed can make a world of difference for brawlers for several different reasons, and even though this gear has been nerfed several times, it's still a very significant stat buff, especially on maps with lots of bushes. The only reason why this isn't S tier is because it does require bushes to use, and bushes can be destroyed, plus some maps just don't have any to begin with. But now we've got the S tier gears, the best of the best. You absolutely want these equipped on your brawlers. And starting us off is Jean's Talk to the Hand Gear. Jean's super is really what makes Jean great. Pretty much anything you can do to make it more likely that Jean's super will hit an enemy and pull them is going to make your match a lot easier. An increase in the range is probably the best way you can increase those chances, so that makes this a must-have gear when playing Jean. Well, next is our newest gear, the Gadget Charge Gear. Obviously, some brawlers get way more value out of this gear depending on how strong their gadgets are. But there are some gadgets like Squeak's Residue Gadget, Crow's Slowing Toxin, RT's Hacks, even Dynamite's Satchel Charge is just ridiculously too strong. And getting a fourth use out of those gadgets is just so useful. Next is Spike's Sticky Spike Spike's gear. Now this is another gear that doesn't do anything until Spike actually has his supercharged up, but the amount of slow is just insane with this gear equipped. Enemies are very unlikely to just walk into a super, but if you can throw the super on top of an enemy, it slows them so much that they may as well just be stunned because you can auto aim from any range to hit them. But the best gear is the damage gear. This is pretty much equipable on every single brawler in the game. It's not really a bad idea to put it on any brawler. The damage boost from this gear is just insane considering the fact that a lot of times you can actually spend less ammo to take out an enemy brawler just because you have 15% extra damage. There are also some brawlers like Mortis who are very likely to take a ton of damage when they're actually attacking enemies and are therefore way more likely to benefit from this. But either way, every brawler, damage is king. And there's the tier list. I really want to know what you guys' thoughts are on the current gears in the game, as well as your idea for other gears that could possibly be added into the game. For now, this is KairosTime ticking by. We will see you in Brawl Stars.